It's last call.
Fantasy football.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Last Call Fantasy Football. Cheers, cheers. I'm Saxophone Del Mon here with my friends
Maria Villa
and Michael Rascon.
Yes, y'all. And it's episode number 2. I hope you saw the first one of our top 25 running backs. That was 25 through 15. If you like that, please like, subscribe, share, tell your grandma about Last Call Fantasy Football, and let's just keep this party rolling with number 14 from. I think he should be higher up on the list. He should be number 1, but I have a Saints fan over here. So the average say from the 49ers, Mr. Raheem Mostert.
Raheem Mostert. Okay, so this is Kyle Shanahan's running system. And I believe that, honestly, whoever he has plugged in there is going to be productive. And Raheem Mostert's benefited from that. Now we have another running back entering the conversation, right?
Yes.
And who is that?
Jerick McKinnon. I'm so excited about this.
Finally.
Yeah.
We've
See,
been waiting for
this
so
makes
long.
sense as to why he's probably low. Do you really believe that if McKinnon comes in here and dominates, that Raheem Mostert's going to have the same production and same volume as he did last year?
Well, it's funny because from the conversations I've been having, people are talking about Mostert and McKinnon, but people are forgetting that Coleman is the actual starter of the 49ers backfield. So
they are stacked.
I don't know who to get. So I understand why Mostert is so far down, because there's a chance that he might even be the starting one. It might be a 3-head equal monster where all of them are getting 9 touches.
And it's important to note that this season in the NFL, there are a lot of different teams that are implementing this system where they're using multiple running backs. And the running backs that we're going to have really high on the list are going to come from a system where it's proven that it's basically just them. So in this situation with the 49ers running backs, any given week, Coleman can go off for 200 yards and then Mostert for 200 yards the next week. So it's really, really hard to predict, much like the New England running system that we talked about before. So I think that it's pretty fair to put him in this spot on the list. But at the same time, we could basically plug in Coleman here too if we wanted to, right?
Honestly, any of them for what we've discussed. So I think they're all going to do good. They're going to have their peaks for sure. So for fantasy, can be a little bit tricky, but he's kind of had the hot hand, and he finished the season last year really good. So for me, him going into this season, I would take Mostert.
You would take him?
I think so.
But as a Niners fan, knowing that there's going to be a 3-headed monster, are you going to pick him up?
Not maybe right off the bat, but if he happens to be, there kind
a few rounds
later in the rounds, then definitely. Mm-hmm.
Ooh, I would say if you can get him after the 9th round, that means that you have already established your first 3 running backs. If you need a 4th running back, then I would go with any of the Niners. Coleman, Mostert, McKinnon, they're all a good, safe gamble to have, and we'll see. I'm just going to take all 3.
Another thing to point out too is the 49ers are coming off of a Super Bowl loss, and there's a lot of frustration, I'm sure, from a lot of the players, and they have a lot to prove. They want to get back to where they just were. So I think that these running backs are going to be very productive. And then again, too, this is also kind of leaning on the fact that we know that Jimmy G's he's not an elite quarterback just yet.
What you say now.
He's not an elite quarterback yet. He's not. Can he prove it? Can he prove it this year? Yes, I think he really can. But first of all, the injury prevented him from really showing us what he's capable of. And it's still really early in his career as a 49er starter. So I think this is going to be the year, if there's going to be any year, that he really steps up. He's going to have to.
It's funny because he can just never get a preseason. Like he came to the Niners in the middle of the year, and then he was hurt last year, so he didn't really get a real preseason. Then this year,
well, nobody gets preseason, so
yeah, evil. I mean,
it'll be
even,
good.
Even
it'll
playing
be
field.
It's like Garcia never got a preseason. Okay, so let's keep moving through the list. Number 13. How do we have a sea chicken rated from the Seattle Seahawks? Chris Carson.
Because he pounds the ball, man. Because last.
Broken hip and all.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
has that hip
well-
injury. He didn't have to have surgery, but it's still there. And
He should have had surgery, and it's still there.
he probably should have. And then he kind of was fumbling the ball a little bit, throughout the season, a lot.
He's just allergic to the ball.
Yeah, so that was, that for me, that's kind of a downfall for him. I had him last year. He did okay for a while. I know this year I'm not going to be picking it up.
Well, I mean, I believe that he's going to be very productive. Then again, who was it? Rashad Penny? That's also sharing the backfield.
He's going to start off on the pup list. So
It's going to be pretty much Chris Carson.
it's hard to tell you to draft somebody that is already injured.
Yeah, you don't want to do that.
Like, there's a lot of guys in the football league right now, and you can select all of them. So, why would I
Don't
tell
pick
you
up
to
an
get a
injured
guy that's
one.
injured?
No. I'm not necessarily talking about right now, but further down the line when he's able to play again, Seattle split the backfield like they did last year when they were both healthy, and they didn't really have as much production. I played them, I think, when they were both playing at the same time, and it really wasn't sort of like a starting running back, the kind of points that you'd want.
And they
at
just
all.
picked up another one too out of free agents. Is it Carlos Hyde that went to Seattle?
Yeah.
Did they really?
Yep.
Carlos
Wow.
Hyde. So yes,
Yeah.
know he's
Yeah.
going to play rush for 1,000 yards last year with the Texans. Like, come on, man. Like,
Right.
only Deshaun Watson gets to run for 1,000 yards. That's because he's got everybody on the team chasing. So Carlos Hyde is going to get a lion. I won't say a lion share, but a baby.
And I trust Hyde way more
Siamese.
than Carson, honestly.
Really.
I think so. Yeah.
Well,
I do. Exactly.
at the same time, I do feel like the air attack in Seattle is going to be a lot better this year. DK Metcalf really came into his own at the end of the season.
They get
He's-
Disley back too.
Yeah. Great tight end.
their air game's going to be what's going to shine this
Oh,
year.
and they have Greg Olsen, right? But so
Yep.
you might not even get Disley out there because Olsen got a little bit to prove.
Well,
Put his rocker.
I
back.
do want to go ahead and say I would not advise you to draft Greg Olsen. I would not
No.
because
No, this is a running back line.
no. But I need to point this out. Like there's a lot of injury problems there, and
Don't do it.
There could be a huge week where he goes off for tons of like 2 or 3 touchdowns, and then
Yeah,
It'll
he's
happen
injured
like
for,
one time, and
Yeah,
that's it.
I mean, he can suffer from like Alzheimer's in the middle of the year, muscular dystrophy.
and he'll still go
Turf
back out
toe.
there. He'll still go back out there. So it's
Parkinson's is running rampant in the league.
it's not worth the risk. Just don't do it. Okay. So next up on the list we have Joe Mixon from the Cincinnati Bengals. Now they just picked up he threw for what? 5,671 yards.
Joe Mixon did?
No.
Yes, he's
No,
not
I'm talking about Joe Burrow. I'm talking about the
His
Cincinnati
brand new
the
quarterback.
Cincinnati Bengals
His
just
exciting
no.
new quarterback.
I'm just messing with you.
Yeah. So they just picked up the former Heisman winner who just won a national championship and broke the record, the NCAA passing record by a ton of yards. He's going to make a huge impact, and Joe Mixon's also the type of running back who goes out for a ton of actual receptions.
Oh yeah, to me he's impressive for sure, especially this year. He's only 23 years old, going into his 3rd season. Last year, and actually the time he's been playing, he's been behind one of like the worst O-lines ever, and is still producing like 1,000-yard seasons. So with Joe Burrow and that combination, I think he's gonna do good, and he's only improved throughout his career. So I see a big jump. for
Yeah,
him.
I will say though, last year was very disappointing. I had Mixon
It
on a
was.
couple of my teams, and it was at a certain point in the season, I just didn't want to take the risk of even having him on my team. So, who knows what's going to happen? But I do know that there is going to be improvement on the Bengals, and because of that, and he's their starting running back, he's going to have production, and there is going to be fantasy value there.
He always gets touchdowns.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
when
gonna
they,
score.
when the 1 out of 30 times they actually make it to the goal line, he definitely gets in.
It's gonna be different this year for them.
If Joe Burrow can make sure that they are not down by 25 every game and they have to pass 50 times, then Mixon might be a decent pickup. But if they're behind every game and have to keep throwing a lot,
He's not gonna benefit.
it's cold up there in the north.
Yep, it is.
And it's I don't. They're gonna have to use him in the wintertime. So maybe at the end, he's going to be a decent pickup. But, man, with no preseason games, no training camp, Joe Burrow was great in college, but we're not playing in college.
No. I do want to go ahead and point out that, yes, there are many instances, and you should always assume that just because a quarterback in college is great, that does not mean that it's going to translate into being a great NFL quarterback immediately. However, I really do believe that Joe Burrow is going to be an exception. I really believe he's going to be an exception to this.
Too.
I'm worried. Stefanski, they keep pushing like Stefanski's like this great, but they wasn't this the same guy that lost the game in Alabama? I'm pretty sure it's the same guy that was offensive coordinator for like 2 games when they fired when Saban fired where did he move to? What's his name? His offensive coordinator that is now in Florida, what is it? Dang it. Anyways, he fired his offensive coordinator. Dang. Right before the championship game. And then Stefanski came in here and lost the championship game for him. And what did he do? He got recruited to the NFL off of 1 game. And he lost it for the most winning team of all time. And then he became Minnesota Vikings offensive coordinator. And what did Minnesota do last year? Nothing.
No. I gotta say otherwise.
With Dalvin Cook and Kirk Cousins and Stephon, he caused the rift with Stephon Diggs and Adam Thielen. Got to get Stephon Diggs to leave.
I don't know. I have to disagree. I have to say that last year Minnesota actually had an amazing offense.
So amazing that Stephon Diggs couldn't get Stephon Diggs the ball?
Stephon Diggs has been hinting that he wanted to be traded for a couple of seasons in a row already. We know that. He's been like, I don't know, maybe I'll stick it out. I don't know what the situation there really is, so I can't really comment on. There's just a big rift between the organization and Stephon Diggs, more so than I think it's the coordinator. I think that the Vikings probably saw something they're not going to see again for a long time last year. Kirk Cousins and these wide receivers were going off for like a huge portion of the season. They made it to the playoffs. They really just dominated Drew Brees.
I think the Bengals are cursed. I'm just going to go ahead and say it.
I don't know.
They always get hurt right before the beginning of the season. And what's happening right now? They're getting hurt right before the beginning of the season. And even when they're killing it, right before the playoffs, somebody gets hurt.
Yeah. I remember the Bengals went 14-2 a few years ago, and Andy Dalton ended up getting hurt, went to the playoffs. Then they had A.J. McCarron start. That didn't go so well, and the Bengals probably won't achieve that for a while. However, Joe Burrow, if he really does stick it out there, I really think there's a good future. However, that also is a division in which there's a ton of good futures there for the Browns and for the Ravens. The Steelers are going to have to get another quarterback very soon. Big Ben is not going to be there very much longer.
Those are some tough defenses.
Yeah, that's going to be a tough
division.
division.
To be able to go up against as a rookie with a new coach, a new quarterback, and a running back that hasn't been proven, and wide receivers with bones made of the finest china. So if you think that the Bengals are actually going to be ahead in games and be winning games, then yes, Joe Mixon is going to be a great pickup because they're going to be running the ball a lot in that cold weather. But if you are on planet Earth and think you're going to know that Joe Mixon is not going to have that great of a year.
I don't know. I disagree. I think he's going to have a good year.
He produces at a solid level anyways. I mean, he hasn't really had anything terrible considering his circumstances. He's actually done pretty good. So, I see him at least staying on the same, level, if not improving at least a little bit.
He's going to have a better season than last year. That's what I will say. Is last season it was very mediocre production. There were a couple of great games, but it was nothing consistent. I think that's going to change this year. I think that maybe your third or fourth running back, possibly, I would definitely pick up Joe Mixon. And there's a lot of potential for improvement. So who knows? Maybe you pick up Joe Mixon and he ends up being a top 10 running back this year. Mm-hmm. One of the steals of the draft.
And if you happen to sneakily get Burrow and they totally ball out, well,
who knows?
More power to you.
I would rather take our next guy, number 11 on the list, Mr. Kenyan Drake. And I know there's Chase Edmonds out there, so we should address that as well. But I still think
Yeah, but I think there are very few, like we mentioned, there are very, very few systems anymore in which it's just really one running back. And last year, David Johnson got hurt, so Chase Edmonds stepped up, and he had 2 killer games in a row. And then they picked up Kenyan Drake, and then Kenyan Drake had a killer rest of the year. So these are really, really good running backs. They must have a great O-line because Arizona really does. I mean,
I don't know why the rankings, the guru rankings, are Arizona's line is so bad, but I think it was David Johnson that wasn't good.
David
Kyler
Johnson.
Murray didn't he win MVP? I mean, Rookie of the Year?
Did he?
Yeah, Offensive Rookie of the Year. So the offensive line can't be that bad.
Exactly.
Or Russell Wilson would have won MVP. If he wasn't a sea chicken, that's why. Anyways, but I think that Kenyan Drake is something special, and he's got a chip on his shoulder because they wasted a lot of time in Miami.
Yeah, he's really happy in the place that he is right now, and I feel like this Chase Edmonds and Kenyan Drake backfield is going to be amazing, and I think picking either of them up would definitely Kenyan Drake. It seems to me like this is the clear starter. So you're probably going to get something like a 60-40 share on the snaps and stuff.
Oh yeah, he's definitely going to be having the ball that much. He already had it at least 60% of the time last year, so he's going to definitely maintain that, I'm thinking.
And I know I was thinking, well, he's only going to probably touch the ball 9 to 12 times, but he was going almost 200 yards in those 9 to 12 times. So and getting he was running touchdowns and catching touchdowns. So he's going to get both of those. You're going to get both of those points in fantasy from the bench, especially if you're in a half PPR or PPR league. That's just extra fish in the bucket.
Yeah, you definitely. He would be a gem to have in that kind of setup. So.
I truly believe that basically any offensive player from Arizona is a safe pickup this year. I definitely, I know we said otherwise, but DeAndre Hopkins could potentially have an amazing season. Christian Kirk could potentially have an amazing season. Larry Fitzgerald could have potentially an amazing season. So it's really hard to say in a system where there are so many threats at wide receiver. I think they're really underrated, and I think Arizona is going to they're going to produce a lot of fantasy points for us this year. So don't sleep on Arizona.
And they're going to get close to the goal line, so they will score.
Yeah.
Unlike these next guys that I think have way too high on the list.
No. He even said himself. Go ahead. Who is
number
it?
10? He said it himself. He's the number 10 running back.
Not
From
last
the
year.
LA Chargers, Austin Ekeler.
Austin Ekeler.
Woo, my boy.
He was your boy last year. He ain't gonna be your boy this year.
There's a clear shift in who's leading the offense this year because we don't have Phillip Rivers anymore, and we have what seems to be Tyrod Taylor. We hope that
That's my uncle.
Yeah.
He's younger than me, but
So,
my uncle. That's
I
how we do it
also
in our family.
I don't want to discount the fact also that reading a lot of the news coming out of Los Angeles Chargers news that the rookie that they picked up is actually really kind of standing out as a quarterback, and I'm just hoping that Tyrod Taylor is not going to be put in another situation like he was in the Browns, where he actually performed extremely well for the first couple of games. And then they're like, nah, let's move on to Baker Mayfield. So Tyrod Taylor, he moved on. He has a great chemistry with this team. I know he plays differently than Phillip Rivers does. But I definitely think, Austin Ekeler last year finished in different leagues depending on the scoring as basically a top 5 running back.
Yeah,
He
even
did.
when Melvin Gordon was there.
And I definitely think he's going to finish as at least a top 10 running back for sure. I definitely think that.
Yep.
I'm so sorry to tell you that Austin Ekeler got most of his points because he's a receiving running back, and he was doing dump-offs because Phillip Rivers was being attacked. They want him like white on rice.
So Tyrod Taylor's not going to get attacked?
Paper plate in a snowstorm. Phillip Rivers didn't have a lot of time, and he didn't have anybody to throw to when Mike Williams was hurt. Keenan Allen's always hurt. Hunter Henry's always hurt. So who else is he going to throw to? Oh, the one guy that's healthy running down the field. He was never open, and he just made amazing catches. The problem is now he has not one but 2 quarterbacks that run the ball when they are under duress. So
Now
there
they're
are
not
not
going
going
to
to be
have
any
to.
more dump-offs. And Austin Ekeler does not do that well between the tackles.
Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and say this. maybe he's not going to have to do dump offs. Maybe he's going to do like a lot of wheels routes. Maybe he's actually going to go out as a wide receiver occasionally. Maybe he's going to sit in the slot occasionally. I think they're going to find ways to use somebody who's can stay healthy and he's so versatile.
You know what he's not going to do?
Having a dual
Run up
threat
the middle.
is awesome.
Yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe he
Well,
won't run up the middle, but
he
he's still going to give us a ton of points. He's still going to finish as a top 10
And the
running
way
back.
he plays, it works for him.
gotta
He
be
is super successful at the way he plays ball. I mean, it's.
He was super successful at the way he plays
What do you
ball,
mean
'cause
was? We haven't even
I'm
seen
going to
him
get this guy
yet.
on the
You're
phone.
already.
I'm going to call
You're already
Austin Ekeler.
prejudging.
I'm prejudging because I know the way Tyrod Taylor plays. And he doesn't do dump offs.
It doesn't have to be dump offs, but Austin Ekeler is going to be used in a different way. He's an amazing player. and I
He's
think
great.
they're gonna find
He's
ways.
Unless
gonna
he's going to
be-
be their slot receiver.
He's not going to be their slot receiver.
Exactly. Yeah, I was waiting for somebody to say something.
He is not going to be
He's
no
their
slot receiver.
No, he's not going to be their slot receiver, but he's going to be used in a lot of different ways, and he's going to get us a
I
lot of
think
points.
he's going to be used on the bench. When
Come on. This is.
he's not going to get benched.
People
I'm just
take
joking. I'm
notes
just
because
joking.
we're going to come back and review this.
Well, I do the editing, so you're not going to just have me going back on.
No.
But he's going to be benched. He's going to be benched. No, I'm just joking. He's not going to be benched. He's going to be the starter, and he's going to be decent. But number 10 decent to make it probably your number 1 running back. Oh, I would not make him my number 1 running back. You are tripping.
No. I'm not saying number 1 running back.
Okay. So last year, our number 9 running back that we have on the list was my number 1 running back from Green Bay Packers, Aaron Jones. I would rather have Aaron Jones.
Of course, you would rather have Aaron Jones. That's why he's higher on the list.
Exactly.
I got him higher on the list because I got him higher on the list. I tried to get Austin Ekeler lower on the list. But
We
they
had
him
Austin Ekeler like way up top.
number 3.
Yeah,
We could have fought you to make him like go a little higher. Actually, I'd have been like Austin
No
Ekeler has to be
way.
7 or 8.
Got it.
Yeah, we could have
See
fought
what I'm
that.
saying? They're saying take him over Michael Thomas.
What?
You're saying-
You are
you're basically saying
tripping.
that-
No, we did not say no such thing.
Because that's what's going to happen, right? They're going to run the first 6 or 7 running backs right off the top.
Yep.
And Austin Eckler's going to be sitting there, and the top wide receiver's going to be sitting there, and you're going to say you would rather have Austin Ekeler over Michael Thomas.
You always take the number
that's
1.
That's a really,
You
really
always
awful
take the number
fallacy.
1. Yeah, that's
No, I don't want-
that's too drastic of an
Michael
example.
Thomas and Austin Ekeler.
That doesn't even. No, you cannot do that. And do not do that.
Okay.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. It's like people are looking at that and go, oh. Well, I could make Austin Ekeler my number 1 running back. Now,
I hope you eat these words, man. I think he's going to do it. I think he's going to have a great season.
I hope I do too. But actually, I don't because I know you guys are going to get him, and I'm going to be reaping all the benefits.
We
Okay.
shall see. Let's get back to our.
I hope he gets you.
Aaron
Hold on.
Jones.
One thing I will say. I hope Austin Ekeler makes you lose a game because of Austin Ekeler because he's so great. And
It
he'll-
happened last
He'll
year.
single-handedly beat you.
It's actually happened like 2-3 years in a row. It's funny because I've always had Phillip Rivers every year, and then it's always bit me in the butt because
Tragic.
I should have had Austin Ekeler, but I had Phillip Rivers. But that's why they got rid of Phillip Rivers, and who they're not going to get rid of is Aaron Jones.
Yep. Aaron Jones is definite. Well, is Jamal Williams still there?
Yeah, Williams is still there, and they picked up
A.J. Dillon.
Dillon, yeah. What's that got to do with Aaron Jones?
No, what it has
they're
to.
fighting for backups.
Yeah, but like last year on one of my teams, I had to use Williams, and he produced for me like on a weekly basis, like pretty decent numbers.
Because the backup running backs always do well. They do about a 70-30 share, and they always have a very good backup. And Jamal Williams is it Jamal? Yeah, it is Jamal Williams. He got a lot of work because Eddie Lacy was not the greatest of running backs.
Eddie Lacy, Cheeseburger Eddie.
Yeah, Cheeseburger Eddie. That's how Jamal Williams got all of that experience being the backup running back because Eddie Lacy was sucking. And he was always hurt, so Jamal Williams got a lot of
Playtime.
So they can trust in him. They know Aaron Rodgers trusts in him. You know Aaron. If you don't trust him, he only trusts one guy.
This is true.
Devontae Adams. and
Especially
that's
this
it.
year,
Yeah.
he's going to even be more selective.
Yeah.
You know we don't trust the coach.
We also have to point out that this is going to be an odd year for Green Bay. Obviously, the moves that were made in the draft were kind of, I don't know, odd to say the least.
Shady.
Yeah, shady that you would go and take a quarterback in the first round at the same number that you took Aaron Rodgers right when Brett Favre was there, thus continuing the cycle of this weird thing that you guys do to get quarterbacks out of the door over there or something.
Hey, it's weird that even Green Bay even has a football team. How the hell? Has anybody even heard of Wisconsin?
It's because the people own it.
So some crazy.
Yeah.
Green Bay of all places.
Of all places.
Of all places. They were mad that
They
LA
made it
has
happen,
2
though.
teams. Why does LA need 2 teams?
They
Why
made
does
it
Green
happen.
Bay need 1?
Yeah, I mean, technically speaking,
Who would ever want to play there?
technically speaking, there are places that have professional football teams with a much smaller population than even here, where we're located in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and we don't have a team. So there's
Not one
You mean like
professional team.
Foxborough?
yeah.
You ever
Well,
took a
I mean that's
vacation through Foxborough?
but that's more of like
On my
a
list.
remote location offsite for basically the Boston Patriots. That's basically what it is. I know it's Foxborough. I know it's located there.
But yeah, it's for
It's
Boston.
Boston.
It's for that. That
You ever
area.
vacation in Boston?
Maybe one day.
No.
I
No
don't
one
know.
ever goes to Boston to vacation.
Not on
I kind of want
purpose?
to now.
Yeah, just to prove me wrong, right?
No, not to
Maybe
prove
to
you
watch
wrong,
sports
because
at
like it was a
least.
good idea.
I would vacation there to watch
I would
sports.
wear a Lakers jersey
Oh,
at a
no.
Celtics game
Good idea.
all day. I take it off when we left, but for the game.
You wouldn't walk around in Boston with it on.
Oh no, I would hope not.
No, you can't even get cops. If I brought like a New York cop with me, in a Yankees jersey, but no.
Yeah, they'd be like,
I'd have to bring my own SWAT team. No, it wouldn't happen.
So, I mean, now with the other running backs that we have on the Packers, maybe it's safe to say that Aaron Jones is not going to necessarily have as many carries, but he's still going to be very productive. He's still going to be very productive.
Without preseason and without reps, enough reps for a training camp, Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams is not going to change. Like A.J. Dillon is just going to have to learn how the NFL speed through the first 4 or 5 games. But what's so important about fantasy is you want to have your solid starting lineup ready to go before the bye weeks. The first 4 weeks are crucial. You want to go 4-0 before the bye weeks hit. And so you don't even want to look at your bench. You want your starting lineup to just hit hard. And I think Aaron Jones, at least for the first 4 games, pick him up, let him be a star, and then trade him off. You can trade him for something big.
Maybe you might not want to.
I don't think you're going to want. I kept him all year. That's
Yeah.
I kept him all year.
This is definitely a safe bet for your number 1 running back for sure.
Yeah, that you can start every week with confidence.
And I
for
know
sure.
there's no changes up there. The coach didn't change. The quarterback didn't change. The plays didn't change. They actually know the system better. So
That's a
I would much
positive.
rather have Aaron Jones than Austin Ekeler. Yes, that's why he's higher on the list by 1. It should be by 10. But
Well, okay. Anyway, let's move on to
Let's keep
one
going.
of my favorite running backs and one of my starting running backs from last year that he saved me so many times. Nick Chubb from the Cleveland Browns. And let's also mention that now there's a system growing there where Kareem Hunt is there and they're feeding him and he's producing as well. Yes, Nick Chubb is their star, but I also did notice when Hunt was inserted into this situation, Nick Chubb's production did go down. He wasn't giving me as many points anymore. So maybe let's not expect the extraordinary Nick Chubb of the past, but definitely a number 1 running back.
He's a better runner too, so I would pick him. Definitely take him.
I'm sad because I had Nick Chubb last year too. But I am gonna go for Aaron Jones than Nick Chubb because Kareem Hunt did so well last year, and I think they were
Right
just kind
away,
of punishing
too.
him. But this year it's kind of up for grabs. And mind you, when he was with KC, he was the most elusive.
Yeah,
running back.
he was. It was like
He was so amazing.
between
Oh my
Kamara
gosh.
and Hunt
And
on that
Hunt.
sort of like
So
elusiveness.
awesome.
And so even though Nick Chubb is right there, they got the 2 top most elusive running backs on the same team. Kareem Hunt was he was rookie of the year that year, wasn't he?
He was great.
No, I don't. Wait, because I know that Kamara beat him out for that, right?
What something? So he got something for that year, but man, it's just Kareem Hunt he's too good. They can't bench him, and
no way.
I don't really see them. The problem is I don't really see them being ahead in all these games like that where they're just going to be running the ball. So I love Nick Chubb, and he's going to have great production, but I am going to not pick him up this year because of how great Kareem Hunt, and that's why he's number 8 on our list instead of like number 3 or 4.
Yeah. So next up on our list we have Josh Jacobs from the now Las Vegas Raiders. He's going to have an amazing year. I think the Raiders are going to have a surprisingly good year. Definitely.
I don't understand why people say, "Oh, Josh Jacobs is going to have a great year," but Derek Carr is not.
That doesn't make sense.
they are.
Works together.
They have.
He's like number 7. Like what?
They have all the weapons they need. They have a pretty decent O-line and
top 5 O-line.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
Derek Carr is going to surprise a lot of people. So anyone that you pick up on the Raiders offense, I think is a safe bet to have on your team.
Well, they said on ESPN the other day that they have the New York Giants, the Kansas City Chiefs, and the Las Vegas Raiders have the 3 fastest offensive starting 11 in the NFL. As far as everybody on the team, running backs, quarterbacks, even offensive linemen and wide receivers. You can't coach speed, and you have a great coach back there putting these guys in position. I think Josh Jacobs could be a top 3 running back this year.
Could be, but I think what also might prevent some of these Raiders players from really being outstanding fantasy football players is the fact that they play in a really, really tough division. That's only getting better. It really is. Like
that means they'll be tempered, so when they play anybody outside of their division, they'll just slap them.
That should be the case.
Hopefully, yeah, it should be, and hopefully they can, because a lot of times they would be leading, and then all of a sudden they, start getting behind, and then they have to go away from that run game.
Yep.
And it kind of, it messes everything up, and they'd end up losing a lot of those games that they'd have to come try fight for, to win. So they definitely need to just, if they can stay ahead and use that run game, it's gonna be good.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So who we got next? On number 6 on our list, Mr. Dalvin Cook.
I like Dalvin Cook, but I probably won't pick him up. I just feel like there's a lot of weird uncertainty in Minnesota right now.
It's called Kirk Cousins.
And Minnesota's a little weird right now anyway. So.
Minnesota lost their offensive coordinator. They lost Stephon Diggs. They lost a lot of defensive players. The Vikings aren't going to be...
hope.
I don't know about
Not
that.
yet.
The Vikings will never lose hope, no matter how many times they lose in the Super Bowl or in the playoffs.
Oh, look at the Saint fan being so nice to the Vikings.
Okay, you want to talk about historically bad playoff teams? Yeah, the Saints have done some embarrassing things and some really bad stuff's happened to them. However, the Vikings have one of the worst playoff records ever, and especially when it comes to Super Bowls. It's not even comparable. Go look it up. If you're really interested, go look up Vikings playoff history. It's heartbreaking, okay? So anyway.
We can flash his address under here, right around here.
Okay.
All the Viking fans can go ahead and go at you.
Email
address. Hey,
I'm not. I don't have anything against the Viking fans. Fans of football.
Just the team.
Kind of. Yeah, kind of. No, and they have great players. I respect their talent completely. The Vikings defense completely dominated Drew Brees in the playoffs. That was not any miracle that happened last time. That was all the Vikings defense dominating Drew Brees this last year. That was all the Saints' fault. So I'll admit that.
Yeah, I like Dalvin Cook. He is a good talent. The only downfall, unfortunately, for him being so talented is that he has been injury prone the last couple seasons, so that he doesn't play the whole entire time. So this is kind of where, I don't know what you guys think about it, but when you take somebody like Dalvin Cook, who's obviously going to be your starter, but tends to get injured and doesn't really play the full season, do you kind of take their backup later on if you can?
Oh, yeah, there's
a for fantasy, that way, you kind of have that, or do you just
Who was it? Is it Madison or something like that?
Yes, Madison. And of all handcuffs, if you're going to do the handcuff, I don't recommend handcuffs. But if you're going to do a handcuff, Madison he gets a lot of plays.
He really helps him out a lot.
And he's competent. There are a few backups. The problem with handcuffing is people just go, oh, that's the guy. I'm just going to handcuff my favorite guy. Now, the problem is some backups aren't like that guy.
Yeah.
So like
Right.
if Christian McCaffrey goes down, you can't just take his handcuff because there is no handcuff
Yeah.
for Christian McCaffrey.
You
Well,
can't
okay,
trust that.
But-
You can't
but
trust it.
Zeke, you get Pollard. That's a different. That's a good handcuff.
good
but
one.
he's comparable to the way Zeke plays. They just got an actual handcuff to him.
I do want to point out that last year there were handcuffs that people doubted, heavily doubted, and they surprised, such as Chase Edmonds, such as, and I can't remember his name right now, but Saquon's backup too. Saquon's
yeah.
backup had some
Yep.
killer games.
He did
So
play.
every once in a while, if you gotta take that risk, and you're like, you know what, I'm gonna have to go with this running back from this team. I'm gonna have to get their backup. I don't have any other choice. The waiver wire is trash. So sometimes they'll surprise.
My problem is you could, where those backups are going, you could have Tom Brady or who's gonna be a great wide receiver, something like just Deshaun Jackson, who's actually gonna be starting and is gonna be down there on the bottom of the list. And it is an amazing talent, but for some strange reason he's not getting any respect in fantasy football. But he's gonna be there on the list just chilling. Why would you take somebody that's not even gonna get in the game over somebody that's not necessarily a starter, but a star? I would rather take somebody that's going to be down there far and still there. That's not a backup at all. That's where I would start getting my wide receivers. So if you need a running back, I would say don't use your strategy to go get a handcuff. I would say your strategy should be pick another running back ahead of that. So you have 4 great running backs before the ninth round. I say in the first 9 rounds, you better have 4 running backs. So you don't need to go get some backup running back. Let somebody else wait for Dalvin Cook to get hurt. I want Dalvin Cook today.
Yeah. You know, I get that, but at the same time, because there are so many systems out there right now that are implementing multiple running backs, I think there's probably more value than there's ever been before on picking up backup running backs. There has to be.
Sure, but you still got to wait for that guy to even get in the game. We're talking about the draft.
No. I know that, but what I'm saying is like later on in the draft, you're like, I know that this happens to be a running system in which this guy right here is going to get a really, really good share.
Yeah, so don't get him now. Let some other sucker get him in the draft. Get you a good starting running back, and then once the draft is over, then and you've played 1 or 2 games, then let your sorry guy, whoever gets hurt, or you need somebody's going to get hurt in the first game.
Your sorry
drop
guy.
that guy. You know, the guy that's not doing well, drop him, and then trade for Madison, and put him in a package deal where you trade off, you know, a wide receiver and somebody else to get Madison and a tight end or something. You know, put it in a package. So you know Madison's not going to get in the game. They're not worried about it. They draft him as a backup too to beat you. So if you give them something they need, well, that's how you work that. And then if they get him and you don't get him, oh well, it's just a backup.
Yeah.
But I would rather have a backup star receiver or a backup or a starting defense. You know, instead of getting some backup handcuff running back, why don't you go get the Niners defense?
Okay.
That looks smarter than that.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you took a defense early. No, I didn't take a defense early. I took the defense early. You can go take a defense late.
Well, as far as the situation with Dalvin Cook, I feel like because there are injury problems there, I think it would be, I don't know. Now we're going to start getting into the point where these running backs are the sole running back. These right after Dalvin Cook, we're going to get into the next running back, which is Derrick Henry, and from here on out, Derrick Henry is the starting running back. Like he's getting all the carries.
Everything.
These are the guys right here that you're going to want to go all in on, all in.
If you want to go all in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or if you're in a snake draft.
Yeah, snag them up right away.
Right.
Instantly.
Use your first pick. Don't pick a quarterback. Don't pick a wide receiver.
No.
Don't get Kelsey or Kittle. They're going to, even if you don't get them, trust me, you want one of these guys over another player position. Running backs run the game this year. So, yes. And Derrick Henry is, well, man, nobody wants to tackle Derrick Henry.
No one really
no
can
way.
tackle Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry has proven that he is like the workhorse in Tennessee. As great as the entire team is, they wouldn't be in the position without Derrick Henry.
Absolutely not.
He showed sparks of brilliance here and there, but last season he just turned it on, and I don't think that the switch is really going to turn off from this point on.
No
That
way.
division right now, as tough as Indianapolis is going to be, and how great Houston really is, the Titans are the best team in that division, and it still belongs to Tennessee.
Yep, Tennessee is the reigning, and that defense is going to be tough. So it's going to be hard to score against them. It's going to be low-scoring games, and then once Tannehill throws his 4 passes a game to A.J. Brown and gets a touchdown, 4 for 200 yards and 4 touchdowns. Yeah, I figured
They're going to run all day.
They're going to run all day. So
Yeah.
that's pretty obvious. It would only be somebody would just argue that he's too low on the list. And, well, I don't think so, because the next guy on our list, number 4, would probably say that he's supposed to be higher on the list. So,
Yeah.
from the Saints, Mr. Alvin Kamara.
Alvin Kamara had a very disappointing year last year, but we're just finding out now that there were actually ligament tears that he was dealing with all of last year. Well, basically all of last year. And luckily, the Saints were really, really smart in picking up Latavius Murray, and he really delivered as well. Like last year, as far as Saints and fantasy players went, it was very unfortunate because if anyone picked up Drew Brees, obviously he was out for a good portion of the season. And then the same thing kind of happened with Kamara when he was just not as productive, not playing some certain games. But these backups really stepped up. And on top of just Latavius Murray being a good backup, they also have Ty Montgomery too. And so I definitely think that Alvin Kamara is going to be, I know that it sounds odd because we've been talking about how all of these players are like the sole running back. This is a situation in which even though Alvin Kamara is not the sole running back in the Saints system, he's going to get top 5 running back numbers.
Yeah, definitely.
This is a first round pickup right off the bat. If you get a chance to pick up Alvin Kamara, definitely do it.
I really think he would be higher on your list.
We had some number things.
Yeah. I like Kamara because he's on a winning team.
Yes,
So
that's
they're going to be
important.
winning the game.
And they lead. They lead a lot.
And
they're
that's my
usually
problem
ahead.
with some of the other guys because we don't know if they're going to be winning. So
Yeah.
Kamara's pretty obvious. I think the next guy should be even higher on the list. I think he's my number 1 just because we're talking about winning teams, and I really don't.
Hey. You can't go and say that because they're not a winning team right now.
Well, I just
They're gonna be, but they've been really, really up and down.
you don't have. I think you don't have no problems getting me to talk about the number 3 team from the Dallas Cowboys, Mr. Ezekiel Elliott. And he's my number. I hate to say it, but I had him ranked number 1 on my list because he's on a winning team. That I don't think it's going to be. I think it's going to be very hard to beat the Dallas Cowboys this year. I have them playing the Niners in the NFC Championship.
Ooh.
And he's the workhorse back there. They only put Pollard in when Zeke wants to go pee.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Zeke always wants to be on the field. He always wants the ball. And yes, definitely pick him up. I used to make the mistake back in the day when I first started playing fantasy that, I'm not going to pick up Dallas players because I don't like Dallas or whatever, and just silly things like that. But, you want the best players on your team, and he's definitely one of them. So pick him up.
Like when I first got into Dell's leagues just a couple of years ago, he was one of my first pickups, and I felt the same way where I was like, I don't want to pick up the Cowboy.
Right? You're like...
But I did, and man, like... Zeke is definitely a top 3 running back, if not like a top 2 for
If
sure.
you're in a snake draft,
Absolutely.
definitely pick up Zeke.
Pick him
if
up.
you have the first top 5 picks.
Yes.
But if you're in an auction, or they don't even call it auction anymore. What is it? Salary
cap.
Salary cap.
Yeah.
I get it. I get why I do it. Thank you for actually changing those rules. But do not pay a third of your whole bank for any of these guys. All right, let somebody else be it. You want a more balanced team. If you spend a third of your bank in a salary league on one of these guys, you're going to be very sad when it comes to filling out the rest of your team.
Hey, well, guess what?
Yeah,
I
you're going to
totally
be wishing and hoping.
I totally paid a third of my money just 2 years ago for Zeke, and I lost
And
by.
did you win?
I got into the playoffs, and Cam Newton is the one that went and messed everything up. But yeah, I could have gotten to the Super Bowl
with the dollar player, right?
Just a little bit of an alteration on your league.
That was just a dumb idea, and I don't know. That was just like divine intervention. It had to have been.
I'll give you that little tidbit. This is the first time there's not going to be 8 people in the box, 8 men in the box. That means all linebackers and defensive players, everyone in the whole parking lot, waiting in the box for Zeke to run the ball. This is the first time that Prescott has all 3 receivers that are very, very good, and they're going to shine. They're going to have to guard those guys. They're going to have to double team a couple of those guys, and so Zeke is going to be able to run wild. And they're going to be up, so they're going to need him to run. And he doesn't like to come out the game, so even when they're up by 40, he's still going to be playing.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Pick him up.
For somebody on number 2 on our list who's never going to be up by 40, Mr. Saquon Barkley from the New York Giants.
Yeah, see, this is where it gets a little like hazy again, because it's sort of like, it's not a winning team. And yes, they're going to be better than they were last year, but it's still not going to necessarily be like a winning team. I don't.
Super elite, maybe winning all the time.
But this is about pure volume. Like Saquon is getting
He's
all
the only guy.
the volume.
All of it.
Eddie Lacy used to get all the volume too.
But Eddie Lacy is fat.
Yeah,
Well,
Saquon is
Eddie
a million
Lacy-
times better than Eddie Lacy.
Let's not rag on Eddie Lacy. He's had a hard life. No, really, like I watched a little
Looks
documentary
like
on
he's
him.
had a great life, a very filling life.
Hey,
He eats well.
Fulfilling.
as long as he's happy. As long as he's happy.
Right,
Obviously, he shouldn't be out there on the field if he's like that and looking like that. But no, if he's happy.
Right.
That's all that matters.
matters.
But yeah,
Saquon shows his belly. He rolls his up to show his Zeke rolls his up to see his belly. Then like Eddie Lacy's just belly just.
that's okay. I don't think that's a good look.
No, it's not.
Saquon's doing it much better than Eddie. So, but even though that, I mean, I believe, like I said earlier, that New York Giants, they have him rated as the fastest team in the league. I believe that they are going to turn it around and actually be a winning team this year. I think the Giants are going to surprise people.
They're going to be a barely winning team, and what I mean by that is they're going to win like 9 games or 10 games. But the thing is, if we're talking about these Cowboys being as great as they're going to be, then that's going to be a problem for the Giants. And I know the Eagles aren't going to be terrible. They're not going to be terrible. The Eagles have a great team. They just have some issues they got to work
The
through.
Eagles up that defense. That defense is looking nice this year.
So the Giants will have a winning record. Yes, I agree, but it's going to be an improvement on last year, not so much a stellar season.
And they throw the ball to him a lot. He'll get 20 rushes a game and
he's
5 or
going to
6
be
passes.
scoring. They're going to give him the ball as much as possible.
This guy will have like
you can't guard him. It's hard to guard.
He'll
100-yard games,
take you
multiple.
down.
So I guess it's pretty obvious who our number 1 running back is then, right? Mm-hmm. Adrian Peterson.
Adrian Peterson, you've been in the league. No, I'm just kidding. It's not Adrian. It's Christian McCaffrey. Obviously, it's Christian McCaffrey. This guy was basically all of the Panthers' everything for the past few years, especially last season. If you had McCaffrey, you basically coasted into the playoffs.
Oh, yeah. With him, just by himself almost.
I lost to McCaffrey in the playoffs.
Yeah, I don't think everybody did.
My problem with McCaffrey is this year that the defense is so terrible. This was the first time that any team ever used all rounds of picks in the draft on defense. It's going to be a bunch of rookies out there running around with no training camp, no preseason games, no friendship trust building exercises to even know each other's name. They're not even, hey, 57, whatever.
I hope it's not going to be
It's
like
going
that.
to be terrible. It's going to be terrible. New coach, new quarterback, new playbook, new everything, new jerseys.
I don't think that's going to
You're
affect
talking about the
Christian
Panthers, right?
McCaffrey
We are talking about the Panthers.
that extreme.
The Panthers are going to have a good season. I completely disagree with what Dell's
New
saying.
wide receivers, everything's new.
They're going to have a good season.
You can take that gamble.
We're
if you want to.
we're gonna talk about this all season. Oh, believe me. But
Oh yeah, believe me, we're gonna talk about it.
So if you had the number 1 pick, would you take him?
Zeke,
Zeke.
taking Zeke.
Okay.
if I had the number 1 pick, I would take McCaffrey.
I think I've never had him in fantasy, and I've always wanted to pick him up.
That's kind of one of my reasons too.
In a way, that's kind of, my, issue or reasoning of picking him up.
I feel safe.
But I still, yes. I mean, he hasn't missed a game in
safe.
3 years. He's amazing. He's gonna be,
Let's make sure. All of a
Well,
sudden
he is
now
healthy.
we draft him and then something happens.
but he is consistently
Yeah,
healthy,
oh, yeah,
which
he's one
is
of the most
super
consistent out
positive.
there.
He's gonna have that workload. That's why he's on the top of the list. I mean, he's done some amazing things, especially in fantasy. He is, one of the best for fantasy.
I'm not knocking him. Like, I have him as my number 3. Like, I'd still pick him if I had. But I'd rather have Zeke. I've had Zeke before.
I had Zeke last
I had him by
year.
accident, and I was mad. And he always gave me 25 points every single game. 100 yards, 2 touchdowns every single game. And he's going to get that this year. Like, do you
Pretty much guaranteed.
Can you guarantee that the Panthers are going to get 14 points every game?
Yes.
I can't guarantee
I
that.
can
In the South, they're going to have to pass. Who are they going to pass to? Robbie Anderson?
Oh my God. Come on. Are you really going to sleep on DJ Moore like that?
Okay, so that has been our running back, top 25. Who's your number running back? Who's your number 1? Post it down on the bottom. Did we get the list right? Is our list right? Or is my list right?
I honestly think that, like, right now, given the circumstances of this season, it's really all speculation. We have no idea how the season's going to go. But this is also what's going to make playing fantasy football this year so much fun. The uncertainty about it, it's basically up for grabs. I mean, if you're trying to get somebody to join one of your fantasy leagues, I know it's been a little difficult. I know I've had some problems because people are, they're faced with the uncertainty. Like, I don't know if I want to play. But right now, I feel like going through this season and actually playing through the season is going to make you a much better player. You're going to have to think. You're going to have to use the waiver wire. You're going to have to budget. You're going to have to really do things and think about things and do research that you never have before. So I definitely recommend sticking it out. It's going to be a lot of fun.
It's going to be a good year.
It's going to be great. So thank you for joining us. Cheers to you guys.
Cheers.
Thank you for joining us. Saxophone Delmone with my friends.
Maria.
And Michael Rascone.
You guys have fun drafting. We'll see you in... we'll see you next episode with our wide receivers. Y'all be safe. Take care.
Hi.
It's last call.
Fantasy football.